Good evening. Welcome to the Friday Study Circle. And since there are a lot of Andhi and Tufans going on around us, let's start with 1 minute of silence. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. I think I'll start today. I had found something really interesting on mastering of the senses, and it had also, it was covering the aspect of sin. A lot of time, I mean, when we talk about sin, it feels it's something away from me. Like, it's like, I don't know, it sounds very Christian at times, or it sounds like it's,
Sin or sorry, Taru, is it sin you were mentioning?
yeah, sin.
Pin, Sharda ji, pin. Kidding.
Her voice was breaking.
Yeah.
Is
Just
it
kidding.
breaking still? Is my voice okay otherwise?
हाँ अभी
Yeah.
ठीक है अभी ठीक है. Please go ahead.
So, but when I look at my actions or my how I live, like this lot of times, like sometimes or lot of times, you do feel that you've done wrong. It's very easy, like somebody's reaction, somebody's, I don't know, words, your own actions, and you don't even realize when you start feeling that maybe that wasn't right, and you start feeling wrong, right? Because sticky we are, right? We don't see things from a distance that, yes, it happened through me, but it's mostly like I did it, right? Like I hurt, I mean, I don't need to go into that. So while going through certain things, I just found a very interesting compilation. So I'll just share that again. And it's a long one, but we'll go through some of these. So starting from the first, I mean, the first was very interesting, and it would be really good to reflect on it together because it has big words. So the article is Mastery of the Senses from Arya. So, in the man who contemplates the objects of the senses, this is where it starts. So, from there, attachment to them is born. From attachment is born desire, and from desire is born the wrath of desire. From that wrath, delusion, and from delusion, error of the memory in the reason. From the error, loss of understanding, and by the loss of understanding, he goes to perdition, like eternal hells or like extreme punishment. So this is Bhagavad Gita. So I don't think I've seen it so clearly, broken down, and so I think we can, anybody, if they want to share anything on this, we can go through this, like we can elaborate on this a bit.
Would you like to share, Taru, what comes to you when you go go through this verse.
Yeah, I mean, I liked how, first of all, I like how one everything can be put into, this a sequence. Because somehow when I deal with myself, it feels that it's my issue, right? I do it. Like I do it like this. And again, that adds to maybe being the victim or being guilty about it. But when you see something like this, it kind of, I don't know, grounds you. That's the first thing. And then going moving from there, so in the man who contemplates the objects of the senses, so you don't even have to go too far, right? If you just start with contemplation, the objects of the senses, attachment to them is born, just by the very thought of the objects, attachment to them is born. You don't even realize, right? Like, I think even, that reminded me of that Bhrathari, the thing, about the deer. I mean, all he wanted was to, okay, for him not to die, the baby deer. And what it led him to, it's just, of course, a mirror. So, in the man who contemplates the objects of the senses, attachment to them is born. From attachment is born desire. Like now that when I'm attached, then the desires come that now I should get this from that, that from that. The other day I was listening to something with my father, and it was like, how we feel we have right on people, right? Especially in, like defined relationships. So he was saying, again, it was something from the Upanishads, that's also, a sin. Like that's also you being foolish. When we feel, and we feel it like, we call it love, right? That I have right on you. In Bollywood movies, it sounds so romantic, right? And yet, it was like, because it's stemming from attachment. So, from attachment is born desire, and from desire is born the wrath of desire. So, usually when we see desire, desire leads to, say, happiness, right? Like that's why I desire, because I want to be happy, I want to be content, I want to be peaceful. But no, Bhagavad Gita here says very clearly, because we know we have seen desires, but maybe not enough. From desire is born the wrath of desires, and from that wrath, delusion. It's like how they say that the brain goes crazy, right? You go crazy, then you're not yourself anymore. So from that rat delusion, and this I felt was extremely interesting because I would have never understood how to say it. And from delusion, error of the memory in the reason. A lot of times when we are kind of, I don't know, having an argument or just clarifying something with, people we have had misunderstanding with, what they are sharing and what you are sharing are quite different, right? And that's how we feel that there's no right, there's no wrong, everything is relative and it's from where you are standing. So this error of memory in the reason, I found that pretty powerful. From the error, loss of understanding. I mean, of course, if the data that you are using to make a decision or pass comments or judgments or feel the pain, if that is based on error, how can it lead to any, I don't know, lightness, any sorting? It would definitely lead to loss of understanding. And from the loss, it's like, it feels like the downward, spiral, like kind of, so he goes to perdition. So yeah, that was me. Yeah,
So there
please.
is something which comes to me and which I've just found out, and maybe we can share that. At the first moment when the attachment or the losing myself in attachment or object of attachment arises, the beauty that I fall into that downward spiral is because I am never conscious what am I doing. So mindfulness comes to the rescue, that can I be mindful that wherever my thoughts are engaged, can I know where my thoughts are right now? So this parallel knowing of wherever I am involved right now, like a parallel guard, or just a second. So this parallel, Kabirji talks of this guard, that what have you done with your uh, own body and mind? There is no guard, and usually we have no guard, and that is why we fall into this hell. All of us, at least I can for sure share that I have I have this taste of whatever this downward slope. And we see that with mindfulness we can slowly, if we have suffered enough through this downward spiral, now with mindfulness we can be aware of the happenings in my mind and body, whatever is happening. So there is something which I had shared earlier, this direct path. There is this book, and somehow it is available as a PDF, Satipatthana Sutra, Buddha Satipatthana Sutra, and commentary on it. So there is the English translation of Satipatthana Sutra, and how we can be mindful in each aspect of our life. That's what is being shared. Uh, हाथ धो लो. So here he shades about, since you were talking about mostly senses and sense objects where we develop attachment, let's go through this. So this is a direct training coming from the Buddha's mouth, or coming from the Buddha. Again, monks. So he's talking about sense spheres, which we were talking of, senses and the object of the senses. So senses would be eyes, ear, tongue. These are our senses, and then they have their objects. So those are objects of senses. So he says again, monks, in regard to dhammas, so the sadhak, he abides contemplating dhammas in terms of 6 internal and external sense spheres. And how does he, in regard to dhammas, abide contemplating dhammas in terms of 6 internal and external sense spheres? Here, he knows the I. So this knowing is being again and again kind of reiterated. He knows the I. I is my sense object, one of the sense organ. He knows the forms. Now form is what I see with the eyes. So that with the object of the sense. He knows the I, he knows the forms, and he knows the fetter that arises dependent on both. So if I see something beautiful, the fetter that can arise is that one develops attachment to that something beautiful, because if I'm not seeing it, it's difficult, even internal seeing or external seeing. So he knows the I, he knows that there are objects of senses, the forms, for example, in this case, and he knows the fetter that arises dependent on both. And he also knows how an unarisen fetter can arise. So right now I may not be attached to something which I am seeing through the senses, but I know that there is no surety. An unarisen fetter can arise anytime since things are moving. So I cannot be like relaxed, that not on guard. I have to be on guard. So he's sharing that he knows how an unarisen fetter can arise, and how an arisen fetter can be removed. So if I have fallen into kind of the stickiness with the object of sense, I know that it can be removed. I can work upon it and it can be removed. And how a future arising of the removed fetter can be prevented. So one by one, he repeats, actually, this goes with every sense organ, with the ear, with nose, with tongue. Then he talks about the body, and then he talks about the mind. And with all these 6 senses, he talks that we can be dependent and attached to the object of senses. And the sadhak on the path what would he do? That he would know that this is happening. He knows that this can be removed. And if removed, he knows that it can arise again. So I have to be mindful and satark, as Kabirji would say, that it does not arise again, for example. So this somehow I had to kind of, because I read it a few days ago and it resonated with what you were sharing, this downward spiral that happens if one is caught unconscious, which is very common for us. Unless we suffer, in case of dog's tail like me. So unless we suffer, we somehow are not convinced that I have to work, be more mindful, and I don't want to suffer anymore.
Yes, thank you so much. Anything on this from Sardaji or Jasmine? I was listening to Thai, and there was something which is again related to this. It's a very 2-3 minute short thing. I'll just pull it up. It's it talks about how when say there's a storm in the sea and everybody's on a boat, right? How if one person is able to maintain their calm, how you can kind of help the whole boat, and how you have to be that person. Again, it's related to how mastering the senses. It's said very beautifully, but you'll have to give me 1 second to find the exact thing. Yeah. You couldn't hear the sound right now, could you?
नहीं, अभी तो कुछ नहीं आया.
Excellent.
Yeah, now it comes.
The children might like to go out and play. You want to feel safe, to feel protected. You want to feel calm. And if you don't practice that, you lose your peace, your feeling of safety, your calm. You will suffer and you make other people suffer. So when the situation seems to be turbulent, overwhelming, full of suffering, we have to practice taking refuge in the Buddha in ourselves. Because each of us has that seed of Buddhahood, that capacity of being calm, being understanding, being compassionate, and take refuge in that island of safety within us. So we can maintain our humanness, our peace, our hope. And this practice is so important. Practicing like that, you become an island of peace, of compassion. And you might inspire other people to do the same. It's like a boat crossing over the ocean. If they encounter a storm, and if everyone on the boat panic, and then the boat will turn over. So if there is one person in the boat who can remain calm, and then that person can inspire other people to be calm. And then there will be hope for the whole boatload. Who is that person who can stay calm in the situation of distress? In Mahayana Buddhism, the answer is you. You have to be that person. You'll be the savior of all of us. This is a very strong practice, the practice of Bodhisattva, taking refuge. And in a situation of war, injustice, if you don't practice like that, you cannot survive. You lose.
Yeah, so basically that was the essence. I mean, the affirmation with which he says that you have to be that boat. It's like we have to be it's like some things happen, right? And you see yourself falling apart. So we have to be that stability on our board so that, if, yeah, I think nothing more needs to be said. So I think this is enough from that list, maybe. I'm sure others would have sharings too. So, Sardaji, do you have anything for sharing today?
No, actually, Meera wanted to share, but she is on call, so that's why I didn't read it.
Okay, so when she joins in, you can unmute and let us know.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
There is a question that comes that if it is shared that I can be that one who remains calm, one can ask that, but how to remain calm? Because there's so much happening. This is happening, that is happening, my relationship, my work. But how to remain calm? That can be the question, following what we just shared. And it comes to me that first of all, I choose to be calm. That choice has to be there, and one must have suffered enough uh, not staying calm. And also, this we have talked earlier also, that setting the inner compass right, that what is the most important thing in my life. And for example, if we go to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, we see that the most important thing why human birth is considered precious is because it is an opportunity for union of our consciousness with the divine consciousness, or in other terms we can say, Chinmay, in other terms we can say growth of consciousness, right? So I would say that if this inner compass is set, that the purpose, just a second. So if the purpose of my life, sorry, some drama happening here. If the purpose of my life is growth of consciousness, then everything that happens is secondary. That really brings me relief. That okay, my relationship broke, marriage broke apart, this happened, I lost a loved one, many things that we go through as a human being. But if the inner compass, I now after many experiences I set it right, that the purpose of my being here is growth of consciousness, whatever is happening, I have to evolve through that, grow in learning, and get deeper in touch with my being. And I think then somehow that gives me that stability, inner stability, that no matter whatever is happening, the outer circumstance, that is now secondary. Because why? Because the purpose of life is growth in consciousness. So whatever is the outward happening, maybe a storm or a lightning or whatever, okay, what is my learning here? What is my learning here? What is my learning here? So if I can just focus and again set my inner compass right, just sharing what I feel, that this gives me inner stability, because then nothing can sway me, or even if the swaying happens, I become conscious of it and I allow not it to overwhelm me, because I reset, again and again realign the inner compass. And somehow it connects me with my deeper strength, that no matter whatever pain I have to go through or the turbulence I have to go through, uh, I know it's a passing phase, first of all. Just like when we go via planes, there is a passing phase when the plane goes through that cloudy area, and then it goes above, and then it's smooth right above the clouds. So knowing that things are changing, they are impermanent, and that's a relief, because whatever phase I'm going through, it's just a phase, and if I persist, I can learn and go through the happening. So this brings me calmness. For example, I just wanted to reflect over that question, that what would make me calm, because everything else can become very big. So if I set my compass right, then everything has a secondary place, and what is important is the growth of consciousness.
yeah, I think, once you had shared that, I think a friend of ours was going to Auroville, and you had shared with her, like we think that Auroville would be something out of the world, but it's like any other place. So you had, shared with her that keep your eyes on the mother. And when I went to Auroville, it was like it's easy to just get distracted, by the beauty of the things or the, I don't know, the aesthetics. And yet the mother's picture somewhere was everywhere, in a small tree cafe, a cafe under a tree. Wahan pe bhi there would be a small picture and that really helps in bringing you home, right? Like, okay, so much could be happening. People could be fighting and there could be 500 mosquitoes biting you under the table. And yet you are centered. So yeah, that was very beautiful. And one more thing on this, not very related to what you were sharing, but a lot of times when I see myself kind of say, again, talking about maybe sin, right or wrong, that, I did wrong and now my boat is turbulent. I don't know what to do. If I'm able to step aside from the drama of right and wrong, I see that right and wrong is also my definition of how things should be, right? So again, it's a very good opportunity for me to drop that definition. Say, for example, I don't know, say I said something and somebody was hurt. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I caused them hurt. And, if they were hurt, like it's their time now to maybe rise over the hurt, right? So it's their time for evolving or growth. So I don't have to pick it up and sit on it. So my definition that I have to be, like the Christ walking on water and not cause anybody pain, it's my stupidity, it's my foolishness. So my job is to see that, maybe to give up that definition, and then have the faith and the trust that the other person would be their own boat again, would find their center, because otherwise how would they be? So more than I did it, it's just happened to me, but we usually just, like, again, we are sticky people. So I think that can be the topic of next harmony circle. I'm saying it too many times. I am sticky. So yeah.
Also understandings from the bodhisattva path. So if, for example, if something has happened which now is bothering me or troubling me, now again we can approach it in various forms or various possible ways. One way is that the moment it begins to disturb me, I can see that I am getting too identified with the thoughts and the feelings and what you said, my own perceptions of right and wrong. And to see that happening and to step back and center, root ourselves with the mother or the breath, and come back here and now. And parallelly, I feel which helps me a lot is that I don't want to leave that person alone. Because I did something did happen through me. Now what can I do? Because I would not, definitely it's his or her thing to evolve and learn through the hurt or process, absolutely. But somehow this really helps me that walking on the bodhisattva path, I can picturize that person, visualize that person in my head, and imagine him or her in front of me, and I know that he or she is going through turmoil, and let me take in that turmoil, let me take in that suffering, and may that person evolve or progress through the hurt or whatever happened, but taking in the suffering and not leaving the person alone. And no, nobody has to say anything. You're not going to declare it that I inhaled your, what happened, I did. That would be vanity. Would not serve the purpose, that last night, what happened, I was taking in your poison. So, in our own silences, I feel this really takes care of my ill will. So it's not for majorly for the other person, but because we unknowingly we develop an ill will towards the person, that let him go through whatever he's going through. I am okay. I'm disidentified from my surface consciousness. So I feel since we are all one and interconnected at many levels, and I somehow don't feel comfortable that something happened and some unease is there. So this is my way of relaxing within myself and doing a little bit which I can do to offer some help. So I feel, and even, I practice this many a time. So even, for example, you're going somewhere, maybe in the markets or wherever, you see a person maybe with a walking stick, or maybe with, nowadays we see people going through dialysis, many people go through kidney dialysis. So they have this bag, and obviously they're not in their high spirits. And you don't have to say anything, maybe a smile or two, even if not a smile, and you're feeling something for that person, you inhale his pain, you take in the suffering, and giving him that, maybe he has more strength and joy and simplicity of the present moment. So I personally get really, really benefited, because this does not leave me disconnected from other people, and it connects me, my own pain connects me with others.
Yes, thank you for adding that. Yeah, I stopped at, how instead of focusing on what needs to be focused, I just make my dramas bigger than what they need to be. So I just, yeah, but that was incomplete. So, yeah.
And also, one anecdote, that how I think maybe I had shared it with you. So just an anecdote from the story of life of Jane Goodall. So she was going in a cab from London to airport, and then to her wherever she lived. And maybe she was going to London from somewhere. Anyway, so there, she was in cab, and the cab driver was talking about whatever work she did. And then he was saying that, there are so many human beings which need help. Why are you helping animals? Help human beings first, something like that. Because we consider human beings at a very high level, that भूखे मर रहे हैं आदमी लोग, तो बट एनिमल्स को क्यों प्रिवेंट कर रही हो, एनिमल्स को अभी छोड़ो, उधर उधर काम करो. So something like that. And he also shared that his sister is working for animal rights and welfare. Now, Jane Goodall started to share something, and her knowledge with chimpanzees, that they also have feelings, they also have emotions, and that's why we must care for them. And she thought that nothing changed, and she did blah 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 for 1 hour in the cab, and then she was offering tip towards the end of her ride, and she offered some tip to the cab driver and said that the rest of it you keep for your sister and donate it there. Now she had no idea whether it'll actually reach the sister or not. Anyway, so when she reached home, back home, she says that I received a letter after some time from the sister of that cab driver, and the sister is sharing, first of all, thank you for the donation, I received it. And she said that, what did you do to my brother? And that he's completely a changed person, and now he keeps on asking me, inquiring me about this animal thing more and more. And in another anecdote, somebody's a waitress at a restaurant, she kind of abused Jane Goodall, that what are you doing with, that animals should not be used in research, because my daughter has a problem, and she's only safe today because they are doing research on dogs. So why do you keep saying that this should not happen? So she absolutely went silent for a while, because it was like an abuse kind of thrown at her. And then she said that, my mother also has a pig valve in her heart. Now, a pig donated a valve to my mother. And that's why I love pigs too much. And I'm grateful to them that they sacrificed something for the mother. And that's why I would want that their life would be a bit more better, living conditions would be a bit more better than what they are right now. Now, in this manner, when she explained to the waitress, I mean, she just melted, her heart melted. Because usually, whenever we approach with a kind of separation, that I am vegan and you are cruel people, what are you doing? But Jane Goodall, what comes to me again and again reading her stories is that she approached with a very pure intention. And she never wanted to prove that I am right and you are wrong. That separatist division that happens mostly, cultism forms and separation forms. And how beautiful the approach, that just because the animal saved my mother's life, wouldn't you want that he lives a better life? Although even if he contributes with research, but at least can have a better cage and a bigger area to play around. And ultimately we do sacrifice animals for research. Somehow we can't do without it at the moment. So at least living, keeping them in sanctuaries and not in little cages like 4x4 or really constricted lives. And then she agreed, the waitress, her heart melted. And so just this approach, that not to make divisions and to keep the intention at our heart pure, either in relationships, that we include everyone, we don't exclude people away. I speak too much, I know. Too many stories come again and again.
I think one thing that, comes up again and again for us to see is that one has to remove themselves, from the out of the picture. Like, say, right now you said she was abused, right? It's like when people are, I don't know, criticizing you or accusing you, you go on a different paradigm. You just go there, oh my God, I'm doing so much, and still, where is this world going? What is happening? Like, you go on a different trajectory, and the main issue remains the same. But when you remove your thing, I was accused or threatened or shouted at or used, this a world, right, that is full of, I don't know, look, waiting to be corrected or guided or directed or pointed, that this too is my possibility.
And she also shared that the moment I was going to like kind of back off and maybe not talk to that cab driver कि वो मेरे type का नहीं है, usually यही होता है ना, she said to herself that this is where I need to work, because people who are in for the animal rights, of course no talking needed, but this is where I want to work. So again, as you said, keeping the vision in focus and removing yourself aside again and again, because it will happen again and again, and our focus will get drifted. That how do I save my own respect and dignity? But it's amazing. Mother also shares that we human beings are miserable because we take ourselves too seriously. So if that I can put aside and focus on the vision, I think then the contribution that happens, that goes worldwide. Yeah. So Sharada ji and Jasmine, you can also unmute and talk. It's not a forceful muting that has happened to you. Otherwise, we can just go on and on and on and on and never stop.
It is interesting to listen. A lot of inputs. Yes. So many times, we get involved. If somebody says something, we will be in that story, how she is talking about me. I was, thinking about that because, in relationships, mainly it happens. If people who are very close to you tell you something, you will not be able to take it. It really hurts very badly. And if we talk back also, like how the lady James, who you mentioned, she explained, whatever she wanted to say, she at least said. And so it changed wholly, transformed the person. But like that, if we talk to persons who are, insulting us, or not having any good intention of what we are doing. So I was thinking about myself, will I be able to talk like that? No, I'll just keep quiet. It's okay. That is my way. This is your route. It's okay. You go in your route, I'll go in my route. So I will not be able to explain. So I don't know what is that? What stops me? Maybe I don't want to listen to that criticism again. I don't know what is that. I was just, thinking about that. I cannot take any, once we can say, you see, this is why I did that. And 2 times we can say, but more than that, it is not possible. If they are not able to understand, then let me keep shut. It's okay. If that is how you think, it's okay, no problem. You think like that, what I'm doing, I will do. So this also needs a great mindset, to talk and to explain.
Yeah.
We get stuck into that, that ego thing. I'm saying, but you are not listening.
So I becomes more important, and benefit of the other person goes to hell.
Yes.
You're not listening to me. That becomes more important.
Yeah. So many times, because this I becomes very, very big. So the goal or vision, everything will takes a back seat. This is what is happening so many times, even at home. So I'm saying something, but you are not listening. If you don't want to listen, it's okay. Be it. You do whatever you want. I'm doing whatever I want. So finally, the vision is not coming to the picture. What we have to do is not coming to the picture. This capital I is, growing so much like Vishwarupam.
Good one. वो कृष्ण जी का गया विश्वरूप ये है
Ego's Vishwarupam is, playing a lot of game in our households with everyone.
Very true. Very true. Mother shares very famous lines from mother that an aimless life is a miserable life.
Yes.
And then she continues. She says, depending on the quality of your aim, will be the quality of your life. Now we see this with all the people who are very inspirational to us at a collective large level, that their aim was higher than themselves. For example, saving chimps or working for the planet is more important than proving myself right. So then I can do that, not to take the abuse that seriously that we talked about, and put it aside and baat kaam ki karo, But usually हमारे साथ क्या होता है that since we don't reflect that what is my purpose being even in a home, like 4-walled home, living with 4 people, right? Okay, what is my purest intention at heart? Usually we never reflect over it. And that's why we are, as you said, in the ego games. Even for once, if I put it down on paper that what is my purest intention for my child, for my spouse, or whatever, and the moment I set it right, okay, their growth of consciousness, obviously. Now, can I keep myself aside when this is happening? Now I'll be able to put myself aside. But क्योंकि हम ये reflection करते ही नहीं है कभी, so all that takes the Vishwarupa, as you said, is the ego. Because I have never reflected upon what is beneficial for the other person. So I think this reflection, time to time, setting the inner compass right, that what am I doing? Why do I feel so disturbed? What did I do? And mother says that those of us who begin to live from the psychic being, the lives becomes a bit, sense of ease kind of spreads in the lives. And the moment the ripple of unease is there, then it is very easy to get it. Okay, unease, let me see where it is arising from. But usually we take unease as a way of life, that अरे सभी तो stress में है, तू कोई नई चीज है. So and we see this in our personal experiences, that if I have a certain sense of centeredness and easiness and lightness, the moment a ripple arises, it's like dal mein kuch kala hai, and I'm able to get it. And mother says that with a forceps you go inside and you pick it out, and you have taken the ill will out, like whatever was sticking. So that's what we need to do with our own selves also.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah. First of all, we should know what is your goal in life.
What is the vision? Yes, very important.
Otherwise, everything will become like this only. Only Vishwarupam of ego, and all the lower natures play will take us for a ride, definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Vishnu.
This purity, this purity word that you mentioned, when I see around me, even in a household, like you said, of 4 people, it's really strange how we don't have this goal, right? We don't, like, in the sense, say there's a mother who says that out of, unbound love for her children, she wants to feed them, because so that for their health, right? Because, and the best food possible and stuff. And yet when you look at her actions, they do, it's more ego that खा ले because मैं कह रहा हूँ. It's not about whether you're hungry or not, whether you like it or not, whether it's healthy or not. Like, you will give your children what's like the yummiest, not the healthiest. I'm just talking about traditional, especially Punjabi families. So it's just it, and when you are a witness to that, it feels really painful, right? Like, can't you see that you're actually doing more harm than good? And I think somewhere we are so caught up in our egos because we couldn't do anything. I don't know, allow me to use the word maybe big. And when I'm forced to kind of just work on this, ऐसा लगता है इसमें तो मेरी कोई सुन ले. इसमें तो everybody should just follow what I'm saying, because otherwise what did I do with my life, right? Like, just the fact that my kid gives everything I tell, he eats everything I tell him to eat. That's also something of an ego, that see, I have that zore on people. It's just as in, if we don't have that clarity of what we are doing and why, let it be, with a household of 2 or a, like a world of 20 billion, whatever, we keep missing the point. We keep going down rather than up.
This used to happen, when initially motherhood, comes. And I realized, I remember a few instances that now I want him to eat just because I made it. Oh God, what a revelation that he doesn't want to eat. No, he doesn't want to eat right now. But you take so much of stress that why is the child not eating? This I am feeding for health, for health, for health. And as if we continue to fool ourselves. And as you said, the game becomes even more complicated and everybody gets like entangled and entrapped in it. If only I can stop my stubbornness, that because I want health of the child, mental, emotional, physical, all are intertwined. So can I just let it be? If the child is not hungry, and he'll let me know whenever hunger is there. So I remember a few instances where this would happen, that I would be feeding the child just because I had made it and I did not want it to go to waste. So very funny. Yeah, Meera, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
So the microphone is to you now. We have really spoken enough, and we were waiting that when you would finish your call, you can share something.
Sure. So this is from a mailer. I'm not sure. So this is from this Auto Society. We get an everyday mailer, and there was an article yesterday. I think it would be there in Incarnate Word as well. This is on Mother's article on who is not and who is your true friend. So at the first sentence is to put it a little more positively. Yes. So to put it a little more positively, your friend is not one who encourages you to come down to your lowest level, encourages you to do foolish things along with him or fall into bad ways with him, or one who commands you for all the nasty things you do. That's quite clear. And yet, usually, very often, much too often, one makes friends with somebody with whom one doesn't feel uneasy when one has sunk lower. One considers as one's best friend somebody who encourages one in one's follies. One mixes with others to roam about instead of going to school, to go to to go and steal fruit from gardens, to make fun of one's teachers, and for all kinds of things like that. I'm not making any personal remarks, but indeed, I could quote some examples. Unhappily, far too much, far too many. And perhaps this is why I said they are not your true friends. But still, they are most convenient friends, for they don't make you feel that you are in the wrong. While to one who comes and tells you, now then, instead of roaming about and doing nothing or doing stupid things, if you come to the class, don't you think it would be better? Usually one replies, don't bother me, you are not my friend. This is perhaps why I wrote this sentence. There you are, I repeat. I'm not making personal remarks, but still it is an opportunity to tell you that something that unfortunately happens much too often. And maybe we can skip to the third para. Yeah, we don't like the company of someone who has a contagious disease and avoid him carefully. Generally, he's segregated so that it does not spread. But the contagion of vice and bad behavior, the contagion of depravity, falsehood, and what is base is infinitely more dangerous than the contagion of any disease. And this is what must be carefully avoided. You must consider as your best friend the one who tells you that he does not wish to participate in any bad or ugly act, the one who gives you courage to resist low temptations. He is a friend. He is the one you must associate with and not someone with whom you have fun and who strengthens your evil propensities. That's all. So I read this yesterday, and it was really striking that it happens all the time. Not even often is not the word. It happens all the time, and we tend to do that only because it's convenient and it's easier. And for that moment, we are lazy to take the step to move forward and to choose wisely to say no, take a strong stand to say no. And the last paragraph, which talked about how spreading vice or falsehood, like all the intangibles in our accounting language, is far too much. It's far too evident for people who take the effort to see what is behind the veil. But I think more often than not, nobody knows that these things exist, and that's what causes most of the issues.
I think Acharya ji also, talks about how first we get into bad relationships, like we go for a person who would make us weak, right? Like, as if you're just crying and somebody would give you a shoulder and say, yes, the world is bad and you are right. We would say, yes, this person understands me, he knows from where I'm coming. Rather, he said that you should go for the one who pushes you, that why are you, sitting here and crying? Go, stand up. Like, what's wrong with you? And we would call that person mean, right? That, he was the one who didn't give me his shoulder when I wanted it the most. So there's, the paradoxes, I think, that Sri Aurobindo talks about so often. It's like, it's amazing how they come in front of you again and again and again.
I think this is beautiful, and also it tells me that a true friendship has the power to mold us if we allow. Usually, whenever we call friendship कि मैं तो ऐसा ही हूँ, अगर तुझे मेरा दोस्त नहीं बनना तो मत बन, that's what we usually say. And whoever I would resonate with is the one who accepts you just the way you are, that I would not be changing myself. Remain the way you are. It's as if like a श्राप दे रहे हो किसी को, remain the way you are. While the purpose of life is progression and growth of consciousness. So I feel that in a true friendship, first of all, one is not asking one to step lower and to provoke lower temptations, as was shared. And the other thing is that because of the mutual love and bond that is there in that relationship, one becomes more flexible to listen to what the friend is saying. because so I feel that there is a very greater possibility of molding the personality in a true friendship like this, whatever mother shared, beautiful. And if one can have that companionship, if possible, or whatever, the way of universes are, how beautiful that one is receptive to the friend, and the friend always wants benefit of you, never takes you down and down, in plunges of lower temptations and lower desires. And even if you go, the friend sticks to the rigidity or the discipline that no, I'm not going to let you go down. That is not right for you, no matter how long we have to go through this. How beautiful. And it is, of course, discomforting, because when you are addicted to something lower, you just are so stubborn that you just want that. And then you wonder, ki, why is the friend not listening? That I want this. But if there is true love, and as Alokda again and again shares, that is, it's only love which has the power to transform. So in love, I can persist through the discomfort, and I know that the transformation will happen if there is receptivity and willingness. So very, very beautiful. This bond of love, and if there is any amount of pure love in there, that all that you want is the benefit of the person. And no matter whatever you have to go through, you will go through, if not for the benefit. And this also connects to the, so I again, mother is sharing that don't become friends with those who pull to you to lower temptations. Now parallelly, there's another thing which I think is true, maybe for another stages in our life. So in the beginning, like a sapling has to be preserved, so you fence it, so you always keep good company, and people who uplift you and talk about scriptures or good stuff, and you avoid those people who don't, who gossip, for example. But as I grow in my journey, I realize that it is the people who gossip that now I need to make my friends. Do you see that? Because I see that this is our possibility, that as I grow stronger in my path, inner stability, then I actually go to those people and sit with them and see that wherever they are, and now can we work together with power of love, with this bond, can we now work together out of it? So this would be the way of bodhisattva, that who is doing it not for his own self but for the sake of benefit of everyone. So I think different stages of our evolution. In the beginning, I have to keep myself very tame, protected. And when I feel ready and confident on the path, and the intentions have been purified, then I can go to criminals and work with terrorists, and go to the prisons and approach those people who are totally maybe considered drenched in lower temptations. Because now my work is there. Again, through the power of love, because why would I go there if not for love?
So for that, Monica, we have to be really strong. If we ourselves are weak, then if we go and sit in the midst of this gossiping people, then we'll be very, very tired. Within no time, we'll feel very miserable.
Absolutely.
So first, as you said, we have to protect ourselves. We have to grow very, very strong, and we should have a nice, goodwill about ourselves and about others. Then only you will be able to go and mingle with such people. So many times it happens when people talk over phone, unnecessary things, even at households, and they see this happened in their house, that happened in their house. I used to feel very miserable. Why is all needed now? Somebody is doing something, it is not of any relevance to you. Why are you talking about all that? But if we say, they will not understand, and they will start saying, you have become a Buddha, you will not talk anything about anybody. All the comments will come. So what we do is we avoid. It's okay. Okay, what did you cook? So we'll change the topic. How many times we can change the topic? So we will start avoiding them.
I think, Sardaji, as we grow on the path, as you said, that as we gain our own stability, we realize that no person can be happy in that gossip. The person is actually suffering, you know. The only ananda, true ananda that we get is coming close to ourselves. And that is equal for billions of us. You know, if we are not close to our true selves, we are miserable. Now, how we make console ourselves in this misery is that we talk, gossip, or whatever, you know, entertainment. Now, to have that deep compassion in our heart, that the person I see talking on the phone, for example, how miserable that person would be that he has to talk such stuff. Can you have compassion for that misery?
That is what, Monica, I'm not able to have that compassion. I feel very, I'll feel sad and I'll feel angry. See, why these people are coming and talking to me? You go and talk to somebody who loves this. I am not interested in any of this rubbish gossips. So I'm not able to be compassionate with them. So
Another thing that can help here is, for example, we were yesterday discussing that nothing has self nature. For example, if I am saying a tree doesn't exist by itself. It is interconnected to many things which are non-tree. For example, soil. Can a tree exist without soil? While soil is non-tree element, right?
Yes.
Air. A tree cannot exist without air. A tree cannot exist without the water, without the cloud, right? So a tree is composed of non-tree elements. And that is why if I spoil even one of these elements, the tree will be spoiled. Now, consider yourself as that tree. Okay? And consider all the people around you as these non-Sarada elements.
Okay.
Knowing that deep interconnection, reflecting over it, that I do not exist if not for these people. Deeply, you have to reflect. It will not just come like that. Reflect over it. That look at your skin. 5 elements. Can you exist without those 5 elements? Fire, water, earth, air, breath, consciousness. You can't. The other person that you are saying that he is not in a good position, he is also made of these elements: fire, water, earth, consciousness. So you are deeply connected. What is the difference between you and him? Now, when you deeply reflect like this, which we ought to, if we want to know this deeply, है ना, या तो आपको बड़ी खुशी है कि मेरे को उनसे कोई कनेक्शन नहीं है और जहां वो है वो रहे और मैं अपनी ठीक हूँ, बढ़िया. But if you are not able to make peace with that, and if you want to work on it, that I want to feel one and step into that person's shoes, then this reflection is necessary. And then you will see that, oh my God, I think that I end where my body ends. But I am in that person.
Yes.
And hence, if that person suffers through gossip, I suffer through gossip. And that is why I will talk to that person if given a chance, or if not given a chance, pray and whatever, inhale their misery and exhale freshness to them. So this again, without aspiration to do this, without willingness, nobody cares. Life is good. You are in your own home. They are not they are not bothering you. They are doing their gossip there. The darkness is there. But if there comes here, if you feel that interconnection, then you will feel disturbed. And then you will take a stand that because I feel disturbed and I know that this is not right even for them, then in that compassion you will take the step.
True, very true. Yeah, this makes sense. Yes, I've never thought in this.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing that came to me again, from my own life, the fact that they are coming to me again and again, and I'm willing, again, I'm talking about stages, right? And I'm willing to listen because I don't want comments like you have become a Buddha. Also shows my weakness, right? Like, first thing, I've seen that lot of times when these comments come, they have come to me, you have risen above all. They feel like a slap on the face. And yet, when I look at what they are saying, it's actually a compliment, right? So lot of times I have removed the tone with which something was said and has just looked at the word. You have become a Buddha. How beautiful. Thank you. Right? Like that means I'm doing something right. So I think one thing was that for me. And secondly, if I don't like what they are saying, and and I'm not saying anything back to them, I'm just listening so that they can get over whatever they want to get over. I mean, it also shows that, I don't know, matlab, something is not right somewhere, right? Like I don't have the courage to stand up and say, I don't want to hear this. We should not talk about this. This is, like this will kind of, I remember once I was just talking to somebody, my father's one of the drivers, and he was talking about how everybody else is bad and how people were doing bad things and stuff. And when I stopped him, that like I think we should just stick with ourselves, right? Why do we have to go to others? And he was like, हाँ उससे तो हम अपनी कर्म खराब कर रहे हैं or whatever, like as in even if the other person feels like the least receptive, I feel that if you gently say something like this, like, I don't want to go there. When I'm talking about somebody, it's paining my heart. I would not want to be here. Matlab, aap bhi mat jao. Don't, and I also don't want to go there. Even if the person would say, "Arey, tu to Buddha ban gaya," I feel that registers somewhere. Next time when you'll be talking to somebody else, that voice, there's a big chance that that voice would come to him that, don't go there, because somewhere we have forgotten that we should not go there, just because everybody, and I think it's the saddest thing that when two people say something bad about a third person, they feel closer. And this is the world I live in, right? I have to recognize that. But is this the closeness I want? This is the quality of my closeness, that okay, on the face of it, they would say that, she's such a good person, she listens to everything I'm saying. But what am I doing to myself? And what am I doing to the other, right? मेरे जैसे दोस्त से तो उसका दुश्मन अच्छा, right? Like on the face of it, I remember, Monica, like years and years back, you had shared with me that there was this auntie, I think, in your apartment complex, who would talk, and you were very close to her, who would talk about a third person, about, I don't know, maybe her daughter-in-laws or something. I think you listened twice or thrice, and the fourth time you told her that, you know, don't go there and don't take me there. I don't want to be the shoulder that you used to cry on for these things, right? Like, and it's shocking, right? Because that's not the world we live in. But we are not okay with the world we live in, so we need people who say that nahi wahan nahi jana hai, right? Like even with my dad sometimes, it's like he's like, मैं तुमसे बात क्या करूं? I say this, तुम बोल देते हो यहाँ मत जाओ. I say that, you say वहां मत जाओ. पता तुम्हें कुछ होता नहीं है, कमेंट कुछ है नहीं, न्यूज तुम देखते नहीं हो. So the thing is कि ठीक है, फिर ना बात करो तो better है, right? Like that is the truth. But it's hard to say that I will not talk trash, because talking is not that important, right? But the quality of what we are doing or how we are living is more important. And I don't want both you and me to go there just because it feels that okay, we had a conversation and we feel close. So yeah.
I think most of the time, as you're saying, what happens is that like our mind has this frame. If I say this, then all of these things will happen. And therefore, and it runs like in a flash. And after that, we don't say anything. And we feel it's better to not have that rebuttal from someone else. Actually, it may not be true that they may even question what we're saying. And they may agree to the fact, like you're like the driver that you were in conversation with, they may actually be receptive of it, but we ourselves inside have that story that they will not be receptive of it and they will oppose what we are going to say, and we wouldn't want to listen to that.
Yeah, it's hard to actually stand up and go where mostly people don't go, But again, like Monica was saying, it depends on what you want, right? Do you really want the other person to not go there, really? Irrespective of what he says about you, thinks about you, maybe he'll talk to 20 other people about you. What then, right? But there is a chance that they might, it might register, it might go in somewhere, and somewhere you also feel better, right? It feels that, yes, I did my part. Like, I don't know. Okay, I didn't want to go down. I didn't want them to go down. If they still choose to go down, I would pray for them and all. But yeah, but it's really weird, but it takes a lot to have a genuine, simple conversation with our loved ones, right? Because there's so many castles of egos around us that to mera rak, you maintain my ego, you polish me, I polish you, so that we are both shining and sparkling. So if that's what it is, it is. But there is a possibility, there is something that we can do. Yeah. Jasmine, you had unmuted, I don't know, by mistake, or you wanted to share something.
Yeah, Taru, I wanted to say something, but I'm not in a position right now. So next time.
ये inner compass की जो बात हो रही थी ना, और also gossip, because whenever I am, how would I be able to step back from gossip? Because gossip has become a habit. And as you were sharing that in order to feel close, we gossip, so we become friends in gossip, which is very true, for a major part of our population. And also because we can't stand silences. We can't stand them. And it's very rare to find two people, three people, or I don't know, can't be more really, who are very happy in their silence. Like they're sitting next to each other, they may be friends, but since at the moment there is nothing really worthy to talk about, like silences are there and they are so comforting and they are enough. How beautiful I feel. Okay, yeah. So that one thing, and the other thing, regarding gossip, because gossip is like a habit, we're habituated to it. Also to realize that whatever storyline is going on in my head about a particular person or a situation or anything, that is my delusion. That's not true. So if I become convinced that all that I think about a person based on my particular experiences is just a big thick filter, and I'm not able to see the truth, then I would say that there is no point to discussion about what that person is like and what I think about that particular person. So then end of gossip, because you have stopped believing in your storylines. There's hardly anything you can say. And also to realize that each person is like a bottomless pit. You can never claim that you know a person. Never ever, because all that you know is the story about that person. You can never know a person, just like you can never know the infinite, the divine. You can only become it. So you can develop an intimacy, maybe as a friendship with the person, but we can never claim that I know what this person is like. So even people who we may see gossiping on the phone, what I think is, I know what that person is like. I just have to stop believing in my image about that person. And then I'm open and receptive in talking or interacting with the person. So with this conviction also that the storylines in my head are not true, it's a filter in my head, then also comes towards, like the reduction or the end of gossip. That I don't know, knowing that I don't know. And how well do I know myself that I can claim that I know the other person? That too. That too.
When you go out for walks, especially maybe in a garden or something, when you cross a bunch of, say, I don't know, daughter-in-laws, they'll be talking about how weird their mother-in-laws are. Usually that you catch that a little bit. And when you cross, the mother-in-law setting, they'll be gossiping about. And how can they both be true, right? Like either they're all weird, which we all are. But when you are more mindful to these conversations also outside and inside of you, it helps in this realization that no one knows nothing, right? Like, and then बोल के अपना ही we are just है ना, मतलब ये just जैसे कहते हैं ना, अपना ही वो मैला कर रहे हो. So it really helps you, like when knowing that I really don't know, which is the truth. I don't know. मतलब उसमें कोई if but नहीं है. ऐसा नहीं है कि I don't think it 10,000 things. If I say even one would have, the truth. It's all relative truths, truth out of my windows. So when you start seeing that more clearly, it's hard to pass comments, right? It's hard to just what would, even if you pass something and you say is that, and that really okay, good for you, yeah, because I don't. So it's a very welcome thing to not be able to then say.
And also, it's very interesting to see that the pattern may keep on running. So the thought about that person, the particular storyline, may keep on arising in the head. But now you are looking at it and you're saying, I know you are not true, or saying that I have believed you enough and I want to do something new with my life. Whatever inward talk we may have. But it's not that the pattern will finish. The thoughts will appear and reappear like a ball set rolling in motion. Takes a lot of time before it completely comes to a halt. So I have to realize that the thoughts about that particular person, the image, the storyline will keep on arising like monsters, and I just have to ignore them. Just don't have to buy into them. And that is true for even images about my own self. The kind of conditioning I had, the childhood I had, all these stories in my head. I just have to one day decide that now I've done enough and I don't want to believe in them anymore.
I think this is tying up with from where we started, and how we are limiting ourselves, and how anytime something happens, we can see that this was my view about things. So just it's already 8:17, but just to end, there was one thing that connects this. I'll share another of this thing. We can reflect on it and end the session. Anybody who would want to read this number 15?
Yeah, I can. Thus, become wise, calm, submitted, passionless, enduring, master of himself. He sees the self in himself and in all beings. Sin conquers him no more. He conquers sin. Sin consumes him no more. He consumes sin.
So I think a lot of our discussion was on the second line today, right? That how I can say that, he's accusing me, or he's, talking about me, or what do I do if people, do bad things? But just, of course, depending on where you are, but she conquers him, sin conquers him no more. He conquers sin. Like you can show the sin its position, and sin consumes him no more. He consumes sin. Okay, I will, take the better of it. Okay, you're throwing a stone at me. Here, I'll give you a flower. I will not get hurt. I will step aside, because when I step aside, the space is so much bigger than what I could ever be. So, Monica, please, reflections on this, and then we can end.
No, I think you already shared and it's quite self-revelatory. I like the last line and reminded me of Shiva. He has this poison in the throat and he doesn't let the poison conquer him. So that is our capacity. I feel that's our highest possibility, because we were talking about Tonglen and taking in the suffering. So when I take in the suffering, I don't become poisonous with the suffering. That's our possibility. So this picture of the Shiva with the poison in the throat, I think that comes to me again and again and reminds me of my highest possibility that sin will be there. As long as good is there, sin will be there. They exist in parallel with each other. And there's one story which I can maybe share right now because it relates with this. So once Mara or Maya or Mara, he came to visit Buddha, and Buddha was with Ananda, the disciple, chief disciple. So Ananda, when he saw Mara, he became very like, why is he here? What work is he doing here? And he was so attached to his master. He said that he should not be seeing Buddha at all. He's not allowed in this area. But Buddha, all compassionate, one with everything, and when he heard that Mara is here, then he said that, come, my friend, dear friend. Just a second. Just because I don't want to misquote. Yeah. So he invited Mara with joy, Buddha, and Ananda had to keep his mouth shut while they were talking. So he asked Buddha, I'll read it out. Buddha repeated warmly, how have you been? How are things with you? And Mara said, things are not going well at all. I am tired of being a Mara. So they are also trying to say that if a Buddha is there, Mara has to be there. So Buddha is made of non-Buddha elements, which is Mara. And if a Buddha is there in the existence, then people like us, non-Buddha, have to be there, because that is how a Buddha would be born, out of non-Buddha elements. So then he says that I am tired of being a Mara and I want to be something else, bored of being Mara. So Ananda became very frightened. And Mara said, being a Mara is not a very easy thing to do. If you talk, you have to talk in riddles. If you do anything, you have to be very tricky, look evil. And I am very tired of all that. But what I cannot bear is my disciples. This is what Mara is saying. They are now talking about social justice, peace, equality, liberation, non-duality. I have had enough of it. And he says that I think it would be better if I hand them all over to you, to Buddha, and I want to be something else now. So now Ananda begins to shudder because he was afraid that the master would decide to take the other role. So Buddha, all compassionate, he would say, okay, I will become Mara, you become Buddha. And Ananda was afraid of this happening. So it made him very sad. And Buddha listened attentively and he said, he was filled with compassion, they say. And he said in quiet voice, do you think it's fun being a Buddha? You don't know what my disciples have done to me. They put words into my mouth that I never said. They build garish temples and put statues of me on altars in order to attract bananas and oranges and sweet rice just for themselves. And they package me and make my teaching into an item of commerce. And Mara, if you knew what it is really to be like Buddha, then I'm sure you would not want to be one. And thereupon, Buddha recited a long verse summarizing the conversation. So anyway, so this was just to tell that, that sin, we were talking of sin, and Mara is sin. And sin is not happy being sin because it has had enough. And knowing, as Mother and Sri Aurobindo says, that in the depth of the darkness lies the light. The divine Vishnu is asleep there. So why not to enter the darkness when we have gathered the strength, when we feel that we are ready, and also on the feeling of being ready, that if I don't take on weights, I don't develop muscles. So thinking that let me sit like this and waiting for the muscles to develop, that is not going to help. I will have to take more than I can take. And that is how we develop muscles. So since Sharda ji in the beginning was sharing that, should I not make myself first stable and then take on more load? I would say take on more load so that we develop muscles. And we have so much of power that we don't even know the powers within, as Mother and Sri Aurobindo share. So if only I challenge myself, I know, oh my God, I didn't know that I had this power. So this challenging than the challenging with a load more than you think you can carry. I think that is very important. Yeah. So take in all the sin. Okay.
I think the word consume is also very interesting here. Na? Like you have consumed it. It's not sitting on your head, right? It's not kind of, so it's just like you have consumed it and it's done with. It's not this, I don't know, ruling you or directing you. Yeah. So, any last comments before we end? Nothing? Okay. So, thank you. This was a wonderful discussion today, very impromptu and yeah, profound and light. Thank you so much. That
Thank
was
you.
great.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.